Hello everyone! In this episode, I will take you along the streets of St. Petersburg and sharing some extra footage that I wasn't sure whatever to include before. I will add some commentary along the way, so please sit back and enjoy. And before we start, don't forget to press like and consider subscribing for more of my travel and adventure videos. You might think this is just another church, but it's truly one of the kind. The only one in Russia built by people overcoming addiction, for those seeking hope and a new start. For over 100 years, it has been a place of healing, helping people find faith, sobriety, and a new life with God. Now we're in front of Kazan Cathedral, one of the most famous landmarks of St. Petersburg. Its grand colonnade and impressive dome make it look a little bit like St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. And that was no accident. The architect Andrei Voronichin was inspired by European cathedrals, but he gave this building its own Russian character. The cathedral was completed in 1811, just before the French invasion of Russia. After the war, it became a symbol of Russian victory over Napoleon. Inside, there are memorials to generals and heroes, including Marshal Kutuzov, who is also laid to rest here. The cathedral is dedicated to Our Lady of Kazan, one of the most venerated icons in Russia. Believers come here to ask for help, protection, and guidance. Even today, it remains an active place of worship, with regular services and long lines of people waiting to pray before the icon. But if you look closer, you will notice something unexpected. Symbols that many people connect with Freemasonry or even Illuminati, like the all-seeing eye within a triangle. In Orthodox tradition, it represents God's omnipresence. But the connection is intriguing because Peter the Great himself was influenced by Freemasonry, and many Russian nobles and architects carried those ideas into their work. That influence gave Kazan Cathedral an extra layer of mystery, almost as if history and faith were deliberately intertwined here. What I personally love about Kazan Cathedral is its atmosphere. The moment you step inside, it feels calm and solemn, with the smell of candles and quiet prayers of people, and the soft golden glow of icons. Outside on Nevsky Avenue, life is always busy and noisy, but once you cross the threshold, you enter a different world. Kazan Cathedral is many things at once: a monument of history, a masterpiece of architecture, a living place of faith, and yes, even a building full of mysteries. But above all, it stands at the very heart of St. Petersburg. Marble flooring. Let's get out from the different exit. It's actually quite nice restaurant over there, the terrassa. Let's see Kazan Cathedral from this exit. Here, we are walking towards the Central Naval Museum. On the right, you can see the massive St. Isaac's Cathedral, one of the largest domed cathedrals in the world. And on the left is the legendary Astoria Hotel, which opened in 1912 and quickly became the most luxurious hotel in the city. It has seen revolutions, wars, and royal guests. During World War II, Hitler even had invitation printed for banquet here after he planned to capture Leningrad, something that never happened, of course. Today, the Astoria is still one of the grand hotels of Russia, combining history, elegance, and plenty of stories within its walls.
The wedding is here as well.
Right in front of the stunning St. Isaac's Cathedral is the monument to Emperor Nicholas I. Nicholas ruled Russia from 1825 to 1855, a man known being strict, disciplined, and maybe a little intimidating. What makes this statue really impressive is the engineering behind it. The horse is balancing on just its two hind legs, with no extra support, pretty daring for the 1850s, and a clever way to show the emperor's strength and authority. Look closely at the pedestal too. It's covered in figures symbolizing law, wisdom, and power. Nicholas is dressed in full military uniform, riding tall and proud, reminding everyone that he was not just a ruler, but a general, a lawmaker, and the ultimate symbol of control in his empire. Here I'm walking alone, heading towards the Moika embankment, and just on my left is the Blue Bridge. It's the widest bridge in St. Petersburg, almost 97 meters across, so wide it almost feels like a part of the square itself. Originally painted blue, which is where it gets its name. It really stands out against the historic buildings nearby, giving a beautiful view of the river and the city's classic architecture. As you may notice, there is a column on the right side. It marks the flood of 1824, when the Neva River rose nearly 4 meters above the normal level. Columns like this are scattered around St. Petersburg to remind people of the power of the river and the city's long history of dealing with floods. This area of St. Petersburg is very close to my heart. Back in the 90s, during my university years, I lived here in a very ordinary flat, one of the old tenements. These buildings became communal apartments after the 1917 revolution. Before that, welfare families would occupy the entire flat. But when the communists came to power, they decided to make everyone equal, so the flats were divided into communal living spaces, where several families shared kitchen and bathrooms. Of course, it wasn't always comfortable, or should I say, it could be quite challenging at times, but we got along well. We were lucky to have each other, and everyone helped one another. Living there taught me a lot about community and making the most of what you have. I'm walking down Malaya Kanyushina Street. The name literally means small stable street, because centuries ago this is where the stables for nearby palaces and noble houses were located. Today, streets comes alive every summer with a literary city garden, part of the Book Alley's festival. Colorful outdoor bookshelves line the streets, filled with thousands of books, from bestsellers to works by the local authors. Fresh flowers and the lively atmosphere makes it a perfect place to stop, browse, and even attend readings or workshops. It's a little oasis right in the middle of the city. In the center of the street stands an old weather station or thermograph, which was transferred here from Ilagin Island, where it was located back in the Soviet era. At the end of the 19th century, structures like this one were used to record the weather, and they were surprisingly accurate. This structure not only shows the temperature, but also the atmospheric pressure using the barograph. It even has a built-in clock and calendar.
These prints of war photos dedicated to the Victory Day, and it says the emotions of the Victory Day. And look how happy they are.
I'm now walking along Malaya Morskaya Street, which means Small Sea Street. The name comes from the fact that it once led directly towards Admiralty and the sea. In the 19th century, this street was one of the most fashionable places to live in St. Petersburg. Many famous artists, writers, and noble families had their home here. Today, it connects to Nevsky Avenue, so as I walk towards it, I'm following the same path that many people in St. Petersburg have taken for generations to reach the city's main street.
We are now walking on the main avenue in St. Petersburg called Nevsky Avenue.
This pink building is the Stroganov Palace, one of the finest Baroque palaces in St. Petersburg. It was built in the mid-18th century by the Italian architect Bartolomeo Rastrelli, the same man who designed the Winter Palace. The Stroganovs were among the richest families in Russia, famous as merchants and great patrons of the arts. Oh, and by the way, do you like befstroganov? The dish is actually believed to be named after this very family. Today the palace belongs to the Russian Museum. You can even go inside to see exhibitions and its beautifully restored interiors.
Do you remember big glass restaurant was there? About 20 years ago. Chocolate museum or something, and the shop. I don't know if they get rid of it. That's an old bus, the excursion one. We are now going to Большая Конюшенная Street. just crossing to the opposite side of it.
Just nearby is Большая Конюшенная Street, or Big Stable Street. Like its smaller neighbor, the street got its name because it used to house the stables for the city's grand palaces and noble families. Today it's bustling street full of shops, cafes and historic buildings, and its favorite place for both locals and visitors to stroll, shop and admire classic St. Petersburg architecture.
It says traditional English pub. There is a huge queue to traditional donut place. That one was established in 1950s. Yeah, since 1958. So it's the oldest donut place in St. Petersburg, and they only sell one type of donuts, the ring sugar donuts, and they really actually delicious. And the sun is out.
This Art Nouveau landmark is DLT, the House of Leningrad Trade. Built in 1909 as a luxury department store, it later became one of the most famous shops in Soviet Leningrad.
And that's Irish pub. Oh, hooligans! And on the opposite side of the street is Scottish pub. So here's a sign of McDonald's, but where is McDonald's? Oh, I think further down. This building is a university. Okay, let's go to have some ice cream. Okay. Quick pit stop for caramel ice cream.
This yellow building is a part of Admiralty. It was first founded by Peter the Great in 1704 as a shipyard, where some of Russia's earliest warships were built. The building we see today, with a Grand Empire-style facade, was completed in 1823 by the architect Andrian Zakharov. Today it houses the headquarters of the Russian Navy. Here, in the middle of the street, is an installation marking the first tram line of St. Petersburg, which opened on the 29th of September 1907. I really like this idea. It's not just an ordinary walkway, but something that tells a story and reminds us of its historical significance.
We are going towards Isaac Square, where magnificent St. Isaac Cathedral is located.
This is St. Isaac Cathedral, designed by the French architect Auguste de Montferrand. The construction took 40 years, from 1818 to 1858. During this time, 3 emperors ruled Russia. The cathedral is surrounded by 112 massive granite columns, a remarkable feat considering how difficult it was to transport such enormous pieces of granite to St. Petersburg. Sadly, Montferrand died just 40 days after its completion, at the age of 61, and never lived to see the grand opening. Today, the Golden Dome still shines as one of the St. Petersburg most iconic symbols. That's it for today's tour of St. Petersburg. I hope you enjoyed walking through the city with me and learning a bit of its history and landmarks. If you liked this video, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe so you won't miss my next adventures. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.